If you have been following lately, you know that I've been in the middle of a laundry room renovation, and here it is. It's finished.
Woo!
But today we're going to talk about the Backsplash. And I want to give you 5 simple tips on how to install a Backsplash for a beginner. If you can use these tips, you can turn a Backsplash into a simple DIY project that'll add value to your home or rental property. So let's get started. Number 1, follow the directions. Yeah, it seems simple, but all materials that you purchase will have some sort of installation directions. Most importantly, on your adhesives and your grouts, the timing is critical. When you're installing those things, sometimes if you wait too long or start to clean too early, you can mess up more than you achieve. By following the directions, that will give you your best chance at success. So number 1 is follow the directions. Tip number 2, your substrate. What you set your tile to is almost as important as what you're setting. If it is beat up, lumpy, or bumpy, your tile's gonna look the same. So if you are installing your Backsplash over a demoed wall that used to have a Backsplash on it, and it's got craters and it's all chewed up, you're gonna wanna have that replaced. The substrate is critical. If you're not comfortable replacing drywall and sheetrock, call a professional. It's not that difficult, but you want this to be as close to perfect as you can. Whatever your substrate is doing, your tile will do also. Number 3, choose the right materials. Just because you can buy a complicated product doesn't mean you should. As a beginner, and to make this Backsplash as easy as possible, choose simple products. The first thing I would suggest is you use mastic as your adhesive. This comes in a bucket, it is pre-mixed, there's no chemistry involved to making it. You just open the bucket and put it on the wall. It works really well with a combination of sheetrock and ceramic tile. A word of warning, do not ever use it in a shower. But we're not doing a shower, we're doing a Backsplash. Part B of this is grout. Grout comes in all sorts of flavors, shapes, and sizes. Sanded, non-sanded, epoxy, urethane, glitter. Remember, we're doing Backsplashes for beginners. I would suggest a pre-mixed grout. Sanded or non-sanded, it's like the mastic. Easy to use, it's in a bucket, you open it up, take your grout float, start grouting. Now here's the controversial one. You want your Backsplash to be elegant and amazing, but you're a beginner. Keep it simple. You can have a great Backsplash with a simple tile. There's no need for a fancy water jet, stone, and glass and metal mosaic. That's gonna extend you past your expertise. Like here, I used a simple 4x8 ceramic tile in a brick pattern. You can use a 3x6. You can change the pattern to a stack bond where everything lines up. It will still look amazing. Keep in mind, a well-installed simple tile looks a whole lot better than a poorly installed complicated tile. Keep it simple. Number 4 thing kind of goes along with number 3. We're keeping it simple, but grout joint size is a question I get often. Keep this in mind. The smaller the grout joint, the more difficult the installation. So for a beginner and for this Backsplash to be amazing, choose a reasonable grout joint. For my installation here, I chose an 1/8 of an inch. A 3/16 is just a 1/16 bigger. It would have made it a little bit easier. But if I went down to 1/16 of an inch, it would have made it exponentially more difficult. So once again, choose a grout joint that fits your expertise. I suggest for a Backsplash, using a simple tile like I did here, or a 3x6 or a 4x4, go with an 1/8 of an inch grout joint. Number 5, the fifth thing that would make this experience for a beginner simple is do a mock-up. You've already got your kitchen or laundry room torn apart. You've got a countertop most likely. Lay out your tile with your intended grout joint spacer. That way you can see the cuts on the left, the cuts on the right. When you pre-plan your work, you're gonna know what you need before you get started. That way you don't have adhesive drying on the wall and you're trying to make a decision. You've already laid it out, made the decisions, decided on what cuts here, where my outlet falls, make marks, make notes, then get started. This step will save you a lot of headaches. And that's number 5, but I got some bonus tips for you. But if you want to see how I'll install this, keep an eye out. I'm going to release that video later. But bonus tip number 1, don't forget about ordering waste. When you're on tilebar.com to pick out your simple tile, you want to make sure if it measures 25 square feet, you don't just order 25 square feet. You need to round up. I use 15% as kind of my rule of thumb, and whatever that number comes up to, I round up to the nearest full box. I would much rather you step over a box in your garage than you run short in the middle of a project. Keep that in mind. The next thing, as you watch my video of me putting it in, I make a big mess. So bonus tip number 2, keep a bucket of water and a sponge and a rag handy. You'll appreciate it. Tiling can be a dirty job, especially if you're a beginner. You're gonna have mastic on your clothes, on your arms, your elbows, but it cleans off easily with water. So keep a bucket of water and a sponge handy. Those are my 2 tips, and that rounds out my list for the things you can do to help you install your backsplash as a beginner. But now I need you to figure out what not to do to install your backsplash as a beginner, and you're gonna click right here to figure that out. But thanks for tuning in, following the journey, tile the world, and let's keep learning together.